Okay.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. So Joan and Carol, why don't you introduce yourselves? And we'll get started on our presentation.
Okay, hi, this is Joan Hornig. I'm the chair of the Elementary Teacher Education Program at UAF School of Ed. And we're really happy to be here to share with you some pathways to becoming teachers in the state. Carol, do you want to go ahead?
Hi there. My name is Carol Barnhart, and I'm an elementary faculty person. And you won't see me today. I'm having some issues with internet instability. So I will be able to talk, but you're not gonna see a picture of me.
That's okay, Carol. Your wisdom will come through loud and clear. So I want to thank you all for joining us on this very snowy Friday afternoon. And we are here to give you a short presentation about the different teacher licensure programs that we have at the School of Ed. And then we'll also be here to answer questions that you have also. Can everyone hear me? I mean, I guess I can be heard, right? Unless you tell me otherwise. So I'll go ahead. The first thing we want to share with you, here, I've got a chat here. Sounds good. Okay, well, we'll proceed then. So the first thing that we want to share with you is a little promotional video that we have that gives you sort of an overview of our program. So I'll play that here. Hopefully it'll come through on your end.
There's this quote from Alexander the Great that's always stuck with me about kind of the importance of good teachers. And the quote is, "I am indebted to my father for living, but I'm indebted to my teacher for living well."
What appealed to me about teaching is I really like working with kids and seeing them make progress in such a short amount of time.
They just develop and flourish so much within the year.
I care about people and I care about the people in my community.
The one thing about teaching is you go home every day knowing that you've impacted one individual's life. There's one student out of the 120 or so the secondary teachers regularly see that you had a positive impact on.
I had my first degree in social work. Going from social work to education, it was a different way of leaving my work at work.
You know, you never stop thinking about these kids, or you never stop thinking about what you can do better or how you can improve. And I think that's what's really emphasized during your school years, you know, that, you know, how can you grow and how can you reflect on what you did?
The learning doesn't stop. I want to be better. I want to be better at teaching language arts teachers. I think that quest for professional development and that quest for constant improvement is one thing that makes teachers different than a lot of other folks.
The faculty at the School of Education, once I got into the program and knew that, teaching was a path I wanted to go down, they just have done a great job of continuing to inspire me.
Staying positive is like the best way to get through it. That's what I try to do, is just try to be that one positive person in their life, because that's sometimes all they have.
I have such a huge goal and responsibility.
And I try to provide that to my students. I try to be open, and although we teach in science, we can also talk about like, hey, this is kind of like your dream to be a chef.
The School of Education strengthened my spine when it comes to bearing the tremendous weight that teaching has.
There is nothing better than working with an experienced, lifelong learning teacher in the state. I think we want to push all of our students to be the best that they can be.
Watching the students grow has a whole wonderful ball game in your life. And that's what I enjoy seeing. Become a teacher.
Okay, so maybe you saw some familiar faces there. There's a few people from the area in that little video, but there's also students from all over the place, including you got a sneak peek of our new 7th floor classroom at 7th floor Gruning at the School of Ed. So we'll show you that in just a minute. So our presentation, why teach and why UAF School of Ed? So as you probably know, Alaska and the nation really need teachers. There's a teacher shortage out there. This is a career path with unlimited opportunities not only here in Fairbanks, but in Alaska and then throughout the United States. So there's a teacher shortage beyond the state of Alaska too. So some of our students go outside the state and find jobs, and that's wonderful. We're also nationally accredited through CAPE, which is a super important thing for a School of Ed. The students can take classes online. So you guys can take both online classes, in-person classes, and a combination of both. And you can complete most degrees from anywhere in Alaska. So we've had a distance delivery program for many years at the School of Ed and have served students from all over the state. And finally, graduates from our program are sought after by Alaskan school districts. Our students get hired and we're very proud of them and all their work that they do. And you have many graduates working in the Fairbanks School District. So like I said, we are fully accredited through the Council of Accreditation of Educator Preparation. And so we've had that since 2018. Actually, we've had it before that, but this was like the renewed accredited in 2018. And then our next national accreditation review will come in 2024. We've put together, or actually the University of Alaska has put together this website, which is the Teach Alaska website. So it has not only UAF, but UAA and UAS programs and pathways. And so they've organized it by this different little bubbles here. So let's pretend that you want to become a teacher. So you would click on this, and then it'll ask you things like, do you have a bachelor's degree? Yes or no. So let's pretend we say yes. And then it might say, what's your preference? Elementary, secondary, special ed, art, and you might say elementary. And there's more options there. So a MAT in elementary, post-bac, and just an elementary BAE degree, UAS. And so each of these are offered through the different campuses. You can see which campus offers which pathway. You can also look at this website. Let's see, I'll go back for just a minute. If you scroll down just a little bit more, let's say you want to go just directly to UAF. So you just click on and see what Fairbanks has to offer. So you can look at it this way. And there's the child development, family studies, early childhood education again, and a minor. And so you can see all the different pathways to becoming a teacher just here at the School of Ed at UAF. And so there's a great resource for you to find out more. So you can use that new website that they just created through the UA system. So another benefit for our School of Ed is that we have small class sizes. So we give you lots of individualized attention and support, and we really care deeply about each of our students. Our instructors have real K-12 classroom experience. So for instance, I used to teach first, second, third grade in another, well, a few years ago, but also, and worked with fourth to sixth graders as a reading specialist. And I know all of my faculty that I work with have worked in the regular classroom too. School of Ed has been providing classes through distance methods for many years. So we're really adept at doing distance delivery in an interactive and engaging way. And then classes, and we also have face-to-face too, as you can see in that slide. And classes support culturally responsive teaching in Alaska schools. Like I said, we have a brand new space. So while everyone was away and home over COVID, they were busily remodeling the 7th floor of Gruning, which is where the School of Ed is housed at UAF. And we created a brand new, beautiful classroom for Alaska Future Teacher Space. And it looks like this. And actually, it now has student artwork, some beautiful murals that have been added to it that even some of the local kids made here and then across the state. So we have this classroom where our students have been meeting this last year. And we also have a study lounge right next to it. And so come up and visit and see what we've got up there. It's super, super fancy and nice. Finally, we also have really high quality advising. And we find that this is really important as students are trying to figure out which classes to take, and they want to take the right classes at the right time so they don't waste any of their time and money doing things that are not within their goals. So our advisors are great resources. They can help you find answers and connect you to a variety of university departments. So even if you don't know what your pathway is yet, they're wonderful resources to contact to help you figure out what you want to do. They can also help you register for the right classes each semester to make sure that you're moving forward in your degree. And here's a picture of our wonderful advisors. So Colleen Angayak is here in Fairbanks, and she works with our undergraduate students. Krista Sinuk is down at our Anchorage at UAA campus spot for UAF School of Ed. Julie Griswold works with our rural students and also our interns during their senior year. And Selena Bias works with the secondary program and the post-bac application. So people who already have a degree and they're applying to the internship, they contact Selena. And then Jane Monahan is our advisor for graduate programs. Another strength for the School of Ed is the fieldwork and internship. So what we're very proud of is that we have our students in the classrooms and right from the get-go associated with nearly all of their education classes. And so they do a lot of fieldwork and internship hours, fieldwork hours before they even get to the internship. They work with a variety of different student populations and grade levels, mentor teachers and programs. And then you complete your year-long student teaching internship anywhere in Alaska. So some people come in and do their undergraduate coursework here, and then their senior year, they go back to their home community and do their student teaching there, or wherever they want to do it. They also can do their undergraduate classes from outside Fairbanks too, through our distance programs. We have different pathways, so I'll just talk about the elementary initial teacher licensure programs. And I think this is where I'm going to turn it over to Carol. And I know I have some chats here in the chat box.
Can you hear me okay? I just changed
Yeah.
a setting.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there's no problem for people? Okay. There's a question in the chat box, Joan, and it's a question related to giving credit for work experience. And that's a good question, and one that we would sit down with an individual and look at their work experience and see if it's comparable or if it aligns with a syllabus for a course that's required. Because we have to, all of our program is designed to meet the needs of Alaska as well as accreditation. So if someone has had, for instance, experience teaching students with a second language, if they've taught overseas, then we would look at one of our ed linguistic courses and see if the person has had that level of experience. So it's an individual question that we need to look at for each student. I can't give a direct answer. Okay, so there's different pathways to the elementary initial teacher license. One that probably most people are familiar with the most would be the four-year bachelor's degree program. And with that BA in elementary ed, you not only receive your degree from UAF, but you would be recommended to the state for an elementary license, which would be a K-8 license. And you might wonder about why it's K-8. We did that, we built that degree because at the time that we built the degree, and still, there are some schools in Alaska that have self-contained 7th and 8th grade classes, and the teachers there teach more than one subject, like more than just math for 7th grade. They would teach math and English and social studies. So we also like to point out that in that BA, there's 13 credits in literacy and language acquisition, because we know that reading preparation is super important these days. You have the option to get a minor with an endorsement. An endorsement lets you teach something else legally. So you can get an endorsement in early childhood, if that's your area of interest, and you can get an endorsement in special ed. Now, this means adding some more credits on to the 121 required, but it's a nice option for people who want to pursue either one of those. Another pathway is entering the elementary licensure program as a post-baccalaureate graduate student. And we have several people each year who are interested in this. And I'm sure that some of you in the room have degrees already in other areas. We have people coming to us each year with degrees ranging from business to engineering to psychology, English, who've decided they want to be a teacher. So we have a one-year program for people who want to do that. And there's the option to get an MED along with a license. There's also an option through the state that is not typically used by urban school districts. For instance, if there were a really small rural school district that was not able to hire someone that was certified or licensed as an elementary teacher, and they could prove to the state that there weren't applicants that were qualified, they would hire that person as a teacher, and that person would take classes while they're the teacher over a 2-year period of time rather than a 1-year period of time. Typically, that doesn't occur in any of the big urban districts where there still have been enough people to meet the needs of the districts and be certified. Okay, I'll check the chat box, and also Joan, if you want to move to the next slide. Okay, we do know that getting to a full BA degree and 121 credits is somewhat a little bit daunting to think about. So some people like to achieve different levels as they work their way up to a full BA degree. So we have a local knowledge educator certificate at 30 credits. You probably, many of you would have heard of an AA degree, which is 60 credits. And in some school districts, both in Alaska and throughout the United States, people are rewarded for being a paraprofessional who has either a certificate or an AA degree. It also means you can go through graduation if you want to, have family help you celebrate getting halfway. With an associate degree, though, you must work very, very carefully with an advisor, because you want to make sure that every single course you take count towards that bachelor's degree. So after the 60 credits, you take an additional 60 credits, or 61 actually, and that's how you get your bachelor's degree. So you can think of it as moving along in steps and chunks, and you can take courses part-time through those first 3 steps, The final year, though, is a full-time commitment to being a student teaching intern. Okay, Joan, let's move to the next one. And this is just a little more explanation of those 4 steps. Once again, the certificate, and you take courses that all count towards the BAE. Same thing with an associate degree. And then we're proud of the fact that our BA in elementary degree, even though it's a professional degree and they usually require more credits, we have only 1 credit more than the minimum required for any degree at UAF. If you wanted to get a BAE and be endorsed in early childhood, that would require 9 additional credits. And with special ed, we would work very carefully with you to show you what your options are. The difference between getting a minor in special ed and an endorsement versus getting a post-bac degree and a graduate degree. So there again, advising, super important. So the BAE big overall picture is that, as I mentioned, it's a K-8 license, which is likely to be a very important topic of discussion in Fairbanks with the decision to move 6th graders into middle schools. And so a lot of the discussion about endorsements will be related to what people are teaching in a middle school. If you're teaching only one subject all day, like math, or if you're responsible for teaching English and social studies and math, those are all going to have to be sorted out at the district level, and of course in alignment with the state requirements. And as you can imagine, all of you have spent time in schools. A BAE is an interdisciplinary degree because elementary teachers get to teach in all different subject areas. So we need to make sure that your coursework includes lots of English, lots of science, lots of social studies, math, so that you're fully prepared to help your students be successful in all of those different areas. As I mentioned before, it's 121 credits, which means that you take about 30 courses, 3-credit courses, before your internship year. And then the internship year is a tightly integrated final 30 credits where you don't have the opportunity to have another job at the same time. You have to dedicate your year to that. And our courses are delivered face-to-face, not all of them. The same with distance. Some of them are only distance, some of them are offered both ways. And then we have blended courses that we're using more now, especially with our big, beautiful classroom on campus where students are participating both face-to-face along with their peers throughout the state. So we have classes like our Introduction to Education class has students from all over the state, which makes it a super interesting class because you're with students from Anchorage and Mat-Su and lots of rural communities, and you're sitting there in the classroom communicating with students from all over. And we have just excellent tech opportunities now with our beautiful new facilities up there. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking. I wasn't scrolling down enough on chat. Can you continue working with the school district while going to school? Yes, yes. It's hard to take a full load if you're working full time, but many of our students are working sometimes in the school, often in the school. And then they're taking classes at the same time and finding it a good combination. And we do have enough courses offered at night or by distance, both synchronous, asynchronous, that we can make that work, except for the final year And that is a full-time commitment. And I'm sure somebody from the district can talk to somebody from HR, fact that there are some options for being reimbursed for tuition. I think it was maybe one class a year, 1 3-credit class, but that would be a discussion with HR folks. A substitute teacher cannot use the hours in the classroom towards meeting student teaching hours because there's very specific requirements during the internship here, which Joan might want to talk to a little bit. Joan, why don't you just describe what the internship year is with the full load of courses, but everything integrated and then aligned with the requirements of students in their classroom.
Okay, sure. I just moved on to that slide. So the senior year for the elementary folks or the internship year is 30 credits. So you have a full load of courses, and then you spend about 1,000 hours in your elementary classroom with your mentor teacher. So we arrange and place you with a qualified mentor in the district, and you follow the teacher's calendar for the year. You take, as far as our courses go, in the fall, you take your methods language arts, your methods math, methods social studies, and the methods arts class, along with a classroom management class. And you teach different units associated with those classes. And then in the spring, you take a science methods class, you continue on with a classroom management class, and you take a methods class in health and PE, and another 1 credit, which is a literacy development profile. So it's a continuation of the language arts class focusing on literacy. So those classes meet during the day. And let's see, in the fall, you're usually gone about a day and a half to your university courses. And then the rest of the time you're in your classroom. And that's how we tell people it's sort of like a job and a half, because you're taking on teaching responsibilities in your classroom while you're also carrying out university assignments, which are actually closely aligned to what you're doing in the classroom, but it is a lot. And let's see, the classes are 3-hour blocks, so half days, and they're not every week. So it's kind of the intern calendar, we call it, is it's complicated, but it works in that our interns have a chance to spend most of the time in their classrooms. And then let's see, in the spring, they take over full-time student teaching from around the end of February. So this year, our elementary interns are taking over on February 28th, and they go for 3 weeks. They get a week off for spring break in there, but they teach for 3 weeks. And then, let's see, they also will spend 2 weeks in another school. We call it traded classrooms, where they get to go to another intern's classroom and work with another mentor teacher for 2 weeks. And then they get to, hopefully a different grade level, but not always, but definitely a different group of kids. And when there isn't a COVID pandemic, we've been able to send people who want to spend a week on a rural practicum, and we send them to a remote rural Alaska community. And for the last several years, it's been to Bering Strait School District. So that's a really wonderful opportunity for people. Even if they're not planning on teaching in rural Alaska, they get to have a greater understanding of the kids and the people of all over the state. And they might actually have kids coming in from rural Alaska to be in their classrooms if they're teaching on the road system. And so that is the internship in a nutshell. It is very rigorous and it's intense, but the outcome is that we believe that to teach well is a very complex job, and career. And so our preparation program is rigorous and thorough so that we prepare people to be very successful in the teaching profession. So that's the internship year in a nutshell. It looks like.
Okay, and then, I was going to answer some of the questions in the chat box.
Okay, go ahead, Carol.
And just to build though on what Joan said, one of the questions was about subbing, and can that take the place of being in a classroom with a mentor teacher for a full year? We do want people to experience working with a group of kids from the time they begin in August until they're done. And a lot of the work that's in the coursework is looking at students as they grow and progress through the year and assessing that growth. So working with one group of students is important. So I was going to respond to Nicole's question. Although if you apply to UAF, you have to go through admissions. We in the School of Ed are more than happy to look at transcripts from other institutions to give you an idea about what you would need. And then we would guide you through the process of applying for admission. But we can give you an idea for sure about what we would accept or what UAF can accept, both in terms of content courses, English, science, math, and then ed courses. So I would recommend contacting the School of Ed. I will also be able to stay online afterwards to answer some, advising questions. But this one, if you're elementary, you would go back to the slide that has our advisors, or just look up on our School of Ed website and contact Colleen and Gayak. If it's elementary. If it's not, then you would contact, if it's undergraduate, secondary, that would also be Colleen. We'll make sure you have contact information. Then there's a question from Tiffany about having a degree in a curriculum area and wondering about what needs to occur in terms of doing a licensure program versus a degree. And for undergraduate, we have only the 4-year degree. For people who have a bachelor's degree already, we have the licensure program. It's not a degree, but it's a program where you become qualified to have a license in Alaska. And of course, Praxis is part of getting a license. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. Alaska has its own cut scores for the Praxis core, and those are pretty much right in the middle of most of the states in the United States that do require Praxis. There's also a Praxis 2 test. There's a couple of options. If you're elementary with secondary, you must take it in the area in which you are planning to teach and get your license and your endorsement. And some states I know are making the journey to being licensed really short. There's a lot of research that shows people that go through the really short and quick programs don't stay in the profession very long. So as Joan mentioned, we know that it's a journey, but if you want to become fully prepared to be a teacher who's likely to stay in the profession for many years, we know that it can't be done in a really quick way. I don't know, Taryn, you asked about a special program with Shadron State College in Nebraska, and I don't know what Fairbanks has. I know that Anchorage School District originally had worked with Shadron, but I don't know what Fairbanks has in terms of arranging. So that would be somebody from HR would need to answer that. I see that there's a response to you. Okay, and there will be a presentation about that. Okay. So should we move on, Joan, to the next slide? Okay. I think we've gone through some of this already. I know that the last time we met with people at the school district, where we were actually in the boardroom there with some of you, the majority of the questions afterwards were from people who were interested in the post-bac graduate student route to get an elementary license. So anybody who has a degree would want to meet with us, and we'd review your content preparation. Do you have enough preparation in math and English and history and science? And if not, you might have to take a course. Then you apply for admission to the UAF grad school and to the licensure program. And if you have had no ed courses before, you would have 3 classes early in the summer over a 6-week period, graduate level classes. And then between August and May, you would complete your internship licensure requirements, and you can do it either by taking graduate classes or undergraduate classes. Depends on whether or not you want an MED when you're done. If you choose to take classes at the graduate level during the internship year, you will have only 6 credits that you need to complete after you're done. Okay, Joan, we're done with that. The secondary program, we don't have as much information, as many slides on that, because there are so many different routes, depending on what kind of a teacher you want to be. Whether you want to be an English teacher, a math teacher, history teacher. So if you think you want to be a high school teacher, you want to see an advisor really quickly, but you will be getting a double major. So say you want to be a history teacher, you're going to have a major in history and a major in secondary education. So there's a lot that's packed into that undergraduate degree if you go that route. The majority of our students in secondary come to us with a degree already completed, and then they do a 1-year internship or a 2-year one if they want to spread it out. And that teaching while training option, typically only in rural schools where they really can't get people that are licensed, is another way to go, where if you got a history degree and a school in rural Alaska needed a history teacher and couldn't find one that was licensed, they would hire you as the history teacher. You would not have a mentor teacher in the classroom with you, and you would complete it over a 2-year period of time. Sometimes that's happened in urban school districts for some of the hard to fill math and science openings. And there's also an MED that's an option for people who want to teach in middle school or high school. Okay, June. The secondary program, say it's very much more individualized depending on what you choose that you want to teach in, but there's the same admission process. You have to have, meet certain GPA, you have to have your praxis test scores, you have to have letters of reference, all those same kinds of requirements. Plus you have to have a degree, a major in the area you want to teach. And their fall semester is a little bit different than for elementary. You're in schools 2 full days each week and then taking classes on the other days. It does provide students with the opportunity to do more subbing than in the elementary program. Then it's a full time in the classroom during spring semester. And then there's graduation, or you go on and you complete the last 6 credits and get your master's. Joan, you want to do the next one?
Sure. So once again, we feel like the strengths of the teaching degree from UAF, it gives you lots of time to spend in the classrooms, although you guys are already doing that. So there you go. You can experience life of a teacher for an entire school year. So that year-long internship is very important. It makes our program strong. You have an internship year that provides time to learn your district's curriculum. So in this case, Fairbanks curriculum and assessment practices. So you really come out of the program with a deep understanding of your district's like reading program or math program. So those all make you a really strong candidate at the end if you want to work in that district. You follow progress of a group of students for an entire academic year, as Carol mentioned. And so in lieu of subbing, counting as student teaching, you're going to be with this group of kids from the first day of school, at least in elementary, until the end. And so that level of continuity, you get to see their growth and you contribute to their growth. And it's a very in-depth, valuable learning experience for you as you go through the year. You have ongoing and strong academic and personal support. We have advisors, we have elementary instructors, we have mentors, and we have some really wonderful university supervisors who go out into the schools and give you feedback and kind of bridge that gap between the university and the classroom. So they're a valuable piece in our program. And then UAF graduates, as we said, are recruited and hired by districts throughout the state.
So last time that we presented, there were some questions about the relationship between a degree and getting your license. So we included this slide that in order to get your license, you complete an Alaska approved either a bachelor level degree program or the degree or an approved post-bac program. And of course, all of our programs and degrees have to be approved not only by the Department of Education and Early Development in Alaska, but by our accreditation. And of course, if you have national accreditation, that makes it much easier for you to secure positions in other states. The accreditation that we have is a highly respected one. And you do have to be licensed, though, in every single state. You're not automatically given a license to teach in all 50 states. But if you come from an accredited institution, there's typically an agreement that you will be allowed to teach. You might need to take something special, like in Alaska. Our state requires that people that come from other states, even if they have a license, even if they're the outstanding teacher of the year in California, they still have to take 3 credits in Alaska Studies program and 3 credits in cross-cultural issues in Alaska. You can still get a 2-year license to teach, but you can't get your 3-year license until you complete those 6 credits. And some states have requirements that are similar to what Alaska has. You can still get a license, but you need to take something else that's specific to their state. So once you complete your degree or your program with us, you apply for a license, and then we prepare an institutional recommendation that provides evidence that you completed the program or the degree that was approved by DEED. And so we don't give you the license at the university. That comes from the state, not from UAF. Okay, next one, Joan. And there's, as I mentioned before, there's going to be a lot of talk about endorsements with the change in the school district here. And an endorsement provides approval for you to teach in an additional area. So for instance, if you got elementary, you could become endorsed in special ed, in early childhood, another subject area such as PE, math, middle school subject areas. There are ways to become officially and legally endorsed in other areas. Some of them are with a minor that's posted. A lot of them are directly related to Praxis 2 tests. So I guess in the next one, it says a minor on there. So we're down to the last slide. And I know that you all have more this afternoon. We certainly can answer some questions either right now, or you can send them to me or to our School of Ed. I should put my, I'll put my email address in here. I do a lot of work with our advisors, so I'm happy to answer questions or at least direct you to the person who would, the advisor who would be best able to help you. So are there questions?
So Carol and Joan, there appears to be a question in the chat. If any
Okay.
advisors who primarily advise for K through 8 training would be willing, I would love to talk with them. Do you have any specific individuals that focus on that area, or any individuals in your department that
Yes, yes.
forward their contact information on?
Let me put down Colleen and Gayak. I'll have to get her email. It should be on the slides up there, but she's right on campus. She's available for face-to-face conversations. She'll Zoom. She'll, in fact, if you want to send me, Nicole, if you want to send me your email address, I'll introduce you to one another. And if you meet with one of the advisors and you're not sure if you want elementary or secondary, the advisors work really closely with one another. So they'll make sure that whoever is best qualified to work with you will be there. Okay, Nicole, I'll write to you.
Okay, are there anyone in the chat that asked a question in the chat that wasn't read or maybe wasn't fully answered? Joan and Carol, what might actually be sort of helpful at this point is, are there any sort of common mistakes or errors or sort of maybe like FAQs that people run into when they're first trying to apply to the School of Education? Might help some people kind of come out in front of some things, if you can think of anything off the top of your head.
Well, the main mistake that people make is thinking that if they just look at the UAF catalog online or an old-fashioned paper copy, that they can make good decisions about what to take or what to do without meeting with an advisor. And that can get you into a lot of trouble with if you're pursuing teacher ed licensure, because it's very different than just getting a history degree, because it's not a professional degree. It's not aligned with licensure requirements. It's not aligned with accreditation requirements. And we do really pride ourselves on the quality of our advisors and the fact that they are always available. If somebody's walking up to the 7th floor of the greening on campus, that person might not be available right then, but as long as you send an email or make a phone call, they will be, and they'll get back to you very quickly. And we work very independently with each student, looking at, you know, how many courses you might want to take, what kind of financial responsibilities you have, whether you have children that you need to pick up from school. We'll get you in classes that don't interfere with that. So I guess my response would be the biggest mistake is not working closely with somebody. The other thing that advisors know is they know how often courses are offered and whether they're typically offered face-to-face only or by distance only. That's not true of much anymore, but we have a number of students who do want to take their math and their science courses in a face-to-face setting. And we can tell you, we can project into the next semester and the next summer what will be offered and when, and we'll help people map out a plan for many semesters ahead.
Carol, I'm going to leave the rest of the questions to you. I want to say thank you everyone for coming, and I have to sign off right now, but if there's more questions, I'll leave them for Carol. Bye.
Thank you, Joan.
I really appreciate you being here. Are there any other
Okay,
questions,
and
Carol, either in the chat or here in the room?
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. TWT licensure situation, that would be talking with HR, the Fairbanks district. We can tell, I mean, our advisors can tell you how it has worked for other students, but we don't have any authority to set that up. Our only role in the teaching while training is to verify that the student is indeed enrolled in an approved program and that they're taking courses at the same time that they're teaching. And I do know that in some instances, the state has approved moving to a 3-year program for completion instead of 2 years. And I wouldn't be surprised with the shortage of teachers nationally and in Alaska if there might be more need to employ people as in these teaching while training. If you go on to the Department of Education Early Development website and put in teaching while training, you'll see the paperwork that needs to be completed by a district, and then with us at the university verifying that this person has been accepted into a program and is enrolled in courses.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Are there any questions here in the boardroom or on chat for Carol and by extension, Joan? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Carol, would you, I don't know if you already did this, but would you be able to, I think you did it for yourself. Could you pop your email and Joan's there in the chat here just at the bottom to refresh it for everyone in case they have?
I will, yes. And actually, if there are questions, any questions about advising, they should come to me. And if there's something that I need to ask Joan about, I will. She gets so many emails all the time that we have a division of labor, I guess, here.
Sure. And for those here in the boardroom and front chat, just to let you know, this is being recorded, so you will have the opportunity to watch it later in terms of catching those slides, or if you wanted to review it later for other questions you may have.
Okay, folks. Well, thank you very much. It looks like kind of an empty boardroom. It's awfully nice to have the Zoom option with the roads not very good today. So hi to all of you.
Thank you, Carol.
Feels
We really
weird for me
appreciate
not
it.
to have my camera on, but thank you.
No worries.
To-
Thank you, Carol. We really appreciate you being here.
Okay, we appreciate
thank
you
you.
organizing this. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you from everyone here in the boardroom and those on Zoom. Okay, so we'll get started with the next part of our event here today. My name is Allison Baldock. I'm the EEO officer for the school district. Next to me is Kate Hall with our special ed department, so I'll have her introduce herself. I'm going to have Ms. Hall go ahead and start and talk about the Para to Teacher program that they have going on. I know there's been a lot of questions in the chat about that and a lot of interest in that, so I'll have her expand on that a little bit, and then I'll monitor the chat for any questions that pop up. And for those here in the audience in the boardroom that have questions, there's microphones there at the table, so please jump in if you have questions as well.
Well, like Allison said, I'm Kate Hall. I'm the assistant director in the special education department, and we are excited to start a partnership with Chadron State University in Nebraska. They have an existing para-to-teacher training program for working paras to be able to complete a bachelor's degree in teacher certification. Depending on where a person is in their education, it is a 1 to 3 year program to lead to certification. In a situation where the certification that you're moving towards allows you to stay in your current para position, it's an excellent opportunity to be able to continue working in your current capacity while finishing student teaching during the same time. I heard part of another one of the presentations, and they were talking about a classroom swap, and there would be similar things with Chadron also, where they look to have an elementary and a secondary experience over the course of that student teaching. So we'd look to partner people up for a swap there. Within, and all of this is also possible with the other universities that have spoken today as well. We were just adding an additional school that has sort of programs that are ready to go as well. Don King from Chadron University or from Chadron State will be here on Friday to meet in our department, and we'll be putting together a specific Chadron presentation for a little bit later in the spring, so more details to come about that. Over the course of this school year, we were able to start a tuition stipend program for our special education paras that are working toward special education licensure. We have a number of people who signed up for that and qualified this year, and so that's super exciting, and hopefully that will continue and grow. And I think it's super gratifying this school year. We have quite a few paras in a variety of settings, from classroom settings to speech to other areas that have moved from paraprofessional into our certificated staff, which I don't think there is a better situation than that. So anything we can do to support that, we do. And I am happy to answer whatever questions I have or whatever questions I can. And we will have more information coming out about Chadron after Dr. King is here.
All right, thanks, Kate. Is there any questions from the chat for Ms. Hall, SPED department in general about this? I know there was a few people who are pretty interested in this part of it. Okay, and then Kate, would you be able to, is there somewhere you can direct people for additional information? Oh, okay, we have a question, sorry. So the question is, would we be able to work under our teacher during the internship?
And some of that depends very much on your current capacity. So if the program that you're seeking certification in is a match for the position that you are currently in, then yes, the district absolutely supports that. But it has to be a situation where it's sort of a like exchange with the teacher. Would we need to start applying to Chadron now to be able? Their application deadline is March the 1st, and that would be for, it's coming up. March the 1st, apply for admissions. There's a student transfer scholarship application and copies of your existing college transcripts. And we can get, if you are specifically super interested in this program, if you email myself, Kate Hall, and CC Derek Coriel, we can get you the specific documents that you'd need for that. But March 1st is their next semester deadline.
And Ms. Kimball, to answer your question, sign language interpreters are paraprofessionals.
And I couldn't read what the last question there was. It was
Okay.
about a bachelor's.
Let's see. The next question is, if you already have a bachelor degree, can you still utilize this program for the para to teacher to certified teacher?
My understanding is from Dr. King is yes, that they will work to put together an individualized program depending on where people are in their current education. So the thing that we would want to do is set you up with a meeting with their advising program to be able to outline what your coursework would need to be based on what your current transcripts show. But my understanding is yes.
Okay. Next question, what if we don't have any experience in college? Can we still apply?
I believe it is intended to begin with folks who have an associate's degree, but again, Dr. King said they are very open to creating programs for people at all stages of their education. So I think the best thing to do would be to set up a specific appointment with that university's advisors, and Dr. King can help put you on the path to what the program requirements would be at that point.
Ms. Lester indicated she missed the beginning of the Sharon info. Do they give credit for work experience?
I do not know the answer to that. I think if it's not on a transcript, my guess is no, based on the information that they've given us, but we could, again, get specific appointments with Dr. King for folks that had unique circumstances.
And then, Kate, you mentioned Dr. King and making some appointments. How would individuals who are interested go about doing that?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is if you email myself, again, that's Kate Hall here at k12northstar.org, or Derek Coriel at k12northstar.org. Dr. King will be here to meet with us on the 25th, face-to-face. We've just gotten our MOA and everything set up over the course of this last semester, and he will be setting up appointments in the spring for staff that are interested. So if you email Derek and I, we can start to put together some things while he's here on Friday.
Okay. And Ms. Lester, you mentioned what is the benefit of attending? I don't understand your question. Maybe you got cut off part there while typing. Oh, what is the benefit of attending? Is it pronounced Shadron?
Shadron, yeah. I think over an Alaska university, there's existing programs that are at the Alaska universities as well, and I wouldn't say that one is necessarily better than another. Shadron has a nice program set up to work with people at all educational levels to work towards their teaching certificate, but I think there's similar programs that have been presented here today that would be similar.
Okay, and then Ms. Withers is asking, oops, sorry. Will there be another Zoom with
Yes.
Dawn King?
Yeah, and we
Okay.
don't have that scheduled. We were hoping to be able to do one on the 22nd and 23rd of this coming week, and we weren't able to get that put together. So he is coming Friday, and it will be after that he is scheduling some virtual time to speak specifically about the program.
Okay. And is there anything anyone can be doing to prepare for that?
Yeah, again, if you've got specific interest in this program, please email Derek or I, and we can send you out the existing information that we have so far from Shadron, and then if we've got your name, we can start to get appointments scheduled.
Okay, awesome. Are there any other questions in the chat about this particular subject? The district's going to talk here about joining our team here at the district to connect to the UAF part of this, but if there's any more questions on this. Okay, so Ms. Becker is asking, to get into this program and more information, who is the point of contact, or is that on the homepage?
And if you want to, I don't know if it's worth just putting my email address
Yep.
and Derek's email address in the chat so people know how to spell our names. And we're here in the Fairbanks School District in the Special Ed Department, and we can get your name and information to the appropriate folks at Shadron.
Okay, so while I'm putting that in for everyone, is there any other questions? Yeah. Any other questions in the audience, people that are here? Okay, so both Ms. Hall and Mr. Coriel's contact information is there in the chat, so feel free to reach out to them if you have questions about this program or want to get on board with the upcoming Zoom, and I appreciate you coming and letting everyone know about this.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much. And we have a need for special education teachers every year. We have a variety of special education programs, from preschool to resource to intensive resource, extended resource. There's a wide variety. So we really look forward to growing this program and encourage people to contact us.
Okay, and Ms. Kimball, I'll repost it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I put both Ms. Hall and Mr. Coriel's email in there for everyone. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part of this. Like I said, my name is Allison Baldock. I'm the EEO officer for the school district. I'm here with Ms. Kathy Port, who is our assistant director for HR. And I'm going to share my screen here, and we have a presentation for you. Okay, so like I said, my name is Allison Baldock. Kathy Port is also here. She's the Assistant Director of Human Resources. We're going to walk you through a little bit about how you sort of connect the dots with UAF and then with us. So UAF walked everyone through their part in terms of getting a degree through them, the different courses and credits that you need, how that ultimately leads to an endorsement. And then once you get that degree, once you have those endorsements, how do you come here and join the district and be a part of our awesome set of teachers here? So we'll walk you through some of that. We'll have some contact information on here as well for individuals who are interested in have more pinpointed questions, or if you're at a certain point in your pathway to becoming a teacher, who you can reach out to get some additional information, how our process works and all of that. Ms. Bonham, if you could monitor the chat for us, if questions come up, that would be great. So feel free to pop questions in the chat, and we'll have plenty of time at the end for any other questions that might come up, either individuals who are here in the room or those on chat. Okay, so again, keep in mind, this would be if you've gone through the part with UAF, you've gotten your degree, you've had your student teaching, you've gotten all the credits that you need, and you want to join the teachers here at the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District. This kind of gives you here a timeline when it comes to hiring and what this looks like, what you can sort of anticipate in terms of when positions are open, how long they're open for, the different dynamics, I would say, throughout the calendar year that affect those abilities to apply and what all of this means. So from approximately January through April, there'll be a budget review period. And the reason why this is important for individuals who want to become a teacher is the budget really determines the number of teaching positions for the upcoming school year. And so obviously that gives the district the ability to figure out, well, how many teachers are we going to have? Where are we going to need them? And so then that, of course, dictates the amount that we hire. So I know that's a long process, January through April, but if you're truly interested in being a teacher and kind of curious about where you might land in the hiring process, the budget really does dictate some of that for you. So it is important to stay in tune with that. Starting on February 15th, so just 3 days ago, we have what we call an internal application period. Essentially what that means is that whatever known teaching vacancies we have available are posted. And when I say posted, that means that they're posted on our website, so you can go to the website and click on them and look at those openings. What's important to understand here for those who are not currently with the district, which I'm assuming, or many might be who are curious with how this works, which is why you're joining our presentation here today, is that only current FEA members can apply during this time. For those who don't know, FEA stands for the Fairbanks Education Association. So essentially what that means is members of that association, so our current teachers, can only apply during this time. So that's February 15th through May 15th. Starting on May 16th, then we go into our next application period, and we call that internal/external. So as you can probably see from this timeline, internal means that you're part of that FEA group, and external means that you're not part of the FEA group. So it's open for the internal time period for that February 15th through May 15th. And then it opens to internal, external starting on May 16th, and that runs through June 30th. So again, that means both FEA members and non-FEA members are welcome to apply. Per contract, FEA members are typically given preference, just so be aware of that. But it is open to both internal and external individuals at that time. So for those who have a degree, who are coming out of UAF, and again, back to sort of connecting those dots, this is really the period where you will want to start paying attention to those openings. And again, in a few slides, I'll get you contact information for individuals you can reach out to should you have questions about the job descriptions or the postings that you come across during that time frame. From July 1st to the end of the school year, that's when it's open for external application only. So only external individuals can apply. And then August of 2022 or 2023 or 2024 or wherever you end up on your teaching journey would be when you start the school year with us. So as you can tell, it's a long timeline, but we're here for you throughout the process should you have questions. And as you heard from the great ladies from UAF, they're also here for you throughout your journey and your path to becoming a teacher. So the best ways we can support you, please let us know, and sort of bridging that gap from once you get your degree to coming and joining our team. Do we have any questions? Okay. All right, so once you graduate from UAF, and you want to become a teacher here with the district, we're going to, of course, want to know if you have the proper requirements to teach what you want to teach. The individuals at UAF went through this, but so you're kind of wondering what we ask for and wonder what we need on our end. If you want to teach elementary education, you have to hold an elementary education endorsement. So that's what we're looking for if you're interested in teaching at the elementary level. If you want to teach at the middle school level, there's a couple things we're looking for. You can hold a subject-specific middle school endorsement. So that's an endorsement that is specific to the topics, subject matter that you actually want to teach, so history, math, etc. Or hold an elementary or middle school endorsement if you want to teach in 2 or more content areas. And then if you want to teach high school, you must hold an endorsement in the subject area in which you intend to teach. So history, for example. Okay, so this breaks it down a little bit so you can get some ideas of what we are looking for if you want to teach these things. And so these would go to the specific subjects that you would have the endorsement in. So for physical education, it would be PE, health, coaching, or kinesiology. For science, it would be chemistry, physics, biology, or general or life science. For social studies, you would want simply social studies, geography, government, or history. And then for history, you could have econ, economics, government, history, social studies, or geography. And for math, you could have math, which is it's determined, the endorsement's determined by grade level. So 6 through 8, and then 7 through 12, or 9 through 12. For language arts, that's a typo up there. I'll fix that. Oops. For art, it's simply art. For foreign language, you would want it in that specific foreign language that you're teaching. So Mandarin, Spanish, Chinese, etc. Music, this can be a variety of categories. So instrumental, band, choir, or what you would call it sort of general music. And that would simply be a full music endorsement for any of those things. And then drama/theater or drama theater, you'd want specifically drama or specifically theater, or art would also be a component of that. Okay, so once you have your degree in hand, right, that's the first big hurdle. The second then, of course, is applying and securing that dream job is along your pathway to becoming a teacher here at the district. So there's some sort of tips and tricks you want to pick up and think about as you're going through the process. It's really important that you read the job description and the posting that correlates with the job description very thoroughly. The job description is really sort of your key and your map to what is expected out of the position, particularly if it's a position that has some unique areas to it. For example, if you're interested in SPED or you're teaching at like a CTE school or anything like that, you'd want to be very in tune for what exactly is this job asking for me to do? What are the components of my job? What are the supervisory components of my job, the qualifications, etc. Because not every teacher is the same type of teacher, right? When you apply for positions with the district, every time you apply, regardless of what position it is, it's going to list off things that you need to attach. Usually that's the basics like cover letter, resume, and transcripts. So you want to pay very close attention to what exactly is it asking me to attach and include, and make sure that you include those. And that's important because this can really delay your application process. If you don't have one of those things, the recruiting team usually reaches out to you to see if you do, and so that can really delay things and make for a not as smooth process for you as you're trying to apply. So just double check before you submit an application, make sure you've got all those things in there. And then, of course, what's truly very important when you're applying for a teaching position is to make sure that your teaching certificate is in there, right? Because that's a very large component of what you're doing and a very significant requirement for that. And so you want to make sure that not only do you attach all the other parts, but that your teaching certificate is in there as well. When it comes to those documents, like your cover letter, your resume, transcripts, you can't really control so much, and your certificate either, but certainly your cover letter, when you list out your references, for example, and your resume, you want to be very, very careful for grammar and spelling errors. For most employers, that's really challenging for them to look at a resume and be like, well, this person looks great on paper, but there's typos here, there are grammar issues here, there's spelling issues here. And, for a teacher, I think that's, that you get a little bit more concerned, I suppose, about that. So just be very careful when you're submitting these kinds of things that you are watching for those errors and catching those. And as a side note there, the Human Resources Department here at the district does offer free cover letter, resume, and interview assistance. You can make appointments with us if you call us and ask, and we'll have some contact information here at the end. So If you have concerns about how your resume looks or how your cover letter might read, or if you just want some, basic guidance on things like that, please contact us. And like I said, we're happy to support you throughout this whole process. So please let us know how we can help you. The other part that comes up is just to really be truthful, both not only on your application, but in the interview as well. A lot of times there's sort of a temptation to hide past transgressions or hide issues you had with previous employment. And it's really important that you don't. Being dishonest about components of your resume or components about your past actually is worse than simply being forthcoming about what that transgression or mistake may have been. And there are circumstances where it can result in permanent ineligibility. So just be very careful about that, be truthful. And if you have questions about that, that's something you can talk through our resume assistance arena as well. In terms of professional references, you want to include 3, and it's really important that there's a current email address and a phone number. What can be a very large holdup in the recruitment process is trying to get a hold of references. And so the easier you can make it for us to contact references, for hiring managers to get a hold of references, the better. So updated and current information is important, particularly considering that a lot more people these days communicate through email, and they often tend to respond even faster through email. So making sure all of that is current and up to date. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. So when you come in for an interview, here's some sort of tips to think about. And again, like I said, the Human Resources Department does provide free assistance for cover letters, resumes, and interviews. So if you're just starting your career, you haven't really sat down at a serious interview, we can definitely help you through that. Here's some sort of initial tips that are good to know. Here in the North Starborough School District, we have 36 different schools. So we have a lot of schools, and we have, and each school is different, and each school is very unique, and each school is special, and they're all special and unique in a lot of different ways. And so because of that, it's important that when you apply to a school, you want to know some things about it. Each school, for example, has their own mascot, their own motto, their own structure. Their classes are slightly different, their values are slightly different, and you want to make sure that you really know a little bit about that. So before you sit down for an interview for a teaching position, just make sure you do some research on that school that you're in. Be able to explain why you like that school. Why does that school matter to you? Why is that school important to you? And as a sort of a side piece of advice, when you schedule your interview, give your references a heads up. That helps us, so we don't have to sort of, surprise people. But it also helps you because it allows your references to sort of not really prepare, so to speak, but to be sort of on the ball and waiting for that phone call or that email reference. So it's just important to do that sort of before you sit down for the interview, just anticipate that they're going to be called. Interview questions that you can anticipate are really going to be classroom management, personalized learning, and then social emotional learning, which is a big component of the teaching profession now. So if you're hopefully you'd be familiar with these by the time you sit down for an interview, but if you're not, you want to brush up on these particular subjects because you are going to get questions about these things. And then this also goes back to, researching the school you're applying to, how does classroom management, personalized learning, and social emotional learning look at that school? What does that mean to that school and that student body? And like I said, we're here to support you through this whole process. So you can contact the recruiting team here in HR with the district at any time throughout the process, even before you've applied. If you have questions, what button do I click here, or how do I fill this out? We'll help you. So don't feel like you can only contact us once you hit submit or once you get an interview. We're here through the whole process for you. Oftentimes you will apply for multiple teaching positions. That's common and makes sense. So if you end up with multiple offers, who you're really going to hear from is going to be us here in HR. We're going to contact you. You won't hear from the individual hiring managers that conducted the interviews. You'll hear from us if that's the case. Okay, so for those of us who are joining here who really aren't aware, we have a really amazing district here. And if you're on the cusp of getting your degree, or you're thinking about getting your degree, or you have one in hand, and you're not really sure where you want to land, this is really an extraordinary place to be. And I would really highly encourage you to consider joining our team here of teachers. We have a really diverse population of students here. We're extraordinarily proud of our students. There's over 82 heritage languages spoken here in our district. And we represent over 50 different cultural backgrounds, and that's over approximately 12,000 students. So we're very proud of that, and it's really a wonderful place to teach because of that. Like I said, we have 36 schools, so for our little town, that's really impressive, and again, something we're super proud of. And our schools span a variety of different things. We have charter schools, we have magnet schools, we have CTE schools, we have multiple schools in North Pole. We have alternative learning systems, SMART, IDEA, all different kinds of things. So we're quite robust for our small town. And then currently we have about 1,800 full-time employees. So we're also extraordinarily proud of our employees and what they bring to the table and how they come to work every day to support our kids. And I think it's wonderful to know that there's people here who are tuning into this presentation who might want to be a part of that too. So that's who we are. And like I said, you can always reach out to the recruiting department if you have questions about these things specifically. If you're out of state, for example, and you're curious about Alaska, or you're outside of Fairbanks and you want to know more about us, we're always here to answer questions about who we are and why we're proud to be who we are. So some other things about us that's really practical things that are important to know and make us special are our benefits, the different types of jobs, and the opportunities that we offer. So we have a very robust benefit package. We offer benefits for both full and part-time positions. These benefits include accrued sick and personal leave, medical, dental, vision, and audio, TRS retirement. Then there's options for supplemental retirement in addition to the TRS. And our pay is very excellent, and that's determined, of course, by experience in education. And like I said, we have 36 schools, and we're very proud of the extent of those schools and what those look like. We, of course, have numerous elementary, middle, and secondary schools, both here in Fairbanks and in North Pole. We also have e-learning, which is pretty new. So that's a really important and core part of teachers that we hire, is that skill set that they bring to the e-learning world. And we have some magnet schools. We also have a large number of charter schools, which bring a whole other value to the teaching profession. So we're glad to have those in our district as well. And then we have both the SMART program and IDEA, which are homeschool programs. Excuse me, not SMART, IDEA, which are homeschool programs, and BEST and IDEA are our homeschool programs. And so those are wonderful departments within our district as well that provide really different excellent jobs and opportunities for individuals joining our team. Other opportunities that we have, and this is important for those of you who are, in the middle of your degree, or possibly you're considering becoming a teacher and you kind of want to see, what is this going to bring us? What is this, what does this involve? You can substitute teach. We are always looking for substitutes. You can call our recruiting team to get information on that. And you can do that, when you're finished with your internships. That's an important thing. You can get a lot of hours of subbing under your belt, and it's something to add to your resume. Summer school, you can do this through FEA, which is our Fairbanks Education Association, and ESSA, which is our educational support staff. We also offer SAS contracts. Those are contracts for things that are sort of beyond the typical workday, like coaching. And we are definitely always looking for those. So those are opportunities here for people as well, regardless of where they are in their path. And then after-school programs positions, and that varies throughout different things. So our after-school programs department here is wonderful, and they provide a lot of different employment opportunities for individuals as well. Okay, so in terms of who you can contact, we have two, I'll kind of toggle back and forth from them, who you can contact here. So for any questions that have to do with the FEA agreements, the Fairbanks Education Association agreement, the bargaining agreement, this is the individual who you want to contact. So if you have any questions about the contract, again, I went back to that timeline, so the internal, external, how that's all laid out. If you have questions about that, Shay Woolman is our wonderful FEA HR coordinator here in the Human Resources Department, and she can answer any questions you might have about that. That's her phone number and email address. And then this is our recruiting team. Our recruiting team is a few different people, but these are two of our really awesome rock stars here. There are our HR recruiting techs, Delilah Matsey and Rachel Stockton. They really work hand in hand when it comes to things like job postings, applications. When you have questions about, where do I click here? How do I submit this application? What do I need to put on here? What am I missing? These are who you want to contact. If you have any questions about wanting to do the resume, cover letter assistance, interview assistance, you can also contact these ladies. You can also email HR directly and get signed up for those slots, and someone in HR will help you with that. So there's Delilah's information. As you can see, we have the same core phone number of 452-2000. Everyone just has a different extension. So Delilah's is 11382 and Rachel's is 11277, and then there's their email addresses. So I can't really say this enough. We are here to support you regardless of where you are in your teaching path or your pathway to becoming a teacher. So even if there's any, for example, seniors that are sitting on this call that are curious that once they graduate, they might be interested in the teaching profession, even someone who's maybe thinking of making a career change, we're here to support you as to what that might look like. And so if you have questions, please reach out to us about job postings, applications, what do you do? It's not always straightforward or intuitive, and we recognize that. So we're here to help you if you run into issues or have any questions. Here's some good resources. Again, this is recorded, so everyone can go back and get these if they want to. So don't worry about that. Everyone at the district is required to do mandatory training, so this can kind of outline for you what that looks like. And then UAF went through this a little bit with endorsements, but here's the link to, at least from our angle, to give you some information on endorsements and what you would need for that. Okay. Like I said, Ms. Port is here. She is our Assistant Director for Human Resources. So Ms. Port, is there anything that you wanted to add, or I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone has questions at this point, or anyone here in the audience have any questions. And like I said, this will be recorded, so everyone can go back to the slides if you need to. And if you come up with questions later, I'm going to go ahead and put both myself and Ms. Port's emails here in the chat. So sometimes when you sort of decompress, go back, read through the slides, you have other questions, so you can always reach out to us. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Nope. We definitely are interested in you teaching for us. We are a great place to work. So if you have questions, absolutely reach out to us, and we will be happy to help and assist and answer any questions.
Okay. Any other questions here in the room or on the chat?
Early in the presentation, Joan from UAF did mention that she thought there was some language for repayment of courses. If you are member of our ESSA negotiating union, there is some opportunities, one course per year where you could be reimbursed, and that's part of the negotiated agreement. And we're happy if you are a paraprofessional with the district, reach out to us and we can tell you more about that language.
Okay, well, thanks to everyone for coming. Like, again, this is recorded, so if you want to go back and review any of this, please do so. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns going forward, and we are here to support you throughout your whole journey. Thanks, everyone.